Organic matter in soil benefits trees in all of the following ways except A. It directly increases the soil's pH to optimal levels. B. It improves soil structure and aggregation. C. It increases water holding capacity. D. It serves as a nutrient reservoir through mineralization. The correct answer is, it directly increases the soil's pH to optimal levels. Organic matter decomposition actually produces organic acids that can slightly lower pH. While it buffers against extreme pH swings, it does not directly raise soil pH to optimal levels that requires liming. Radial trenching as a soil aeration technique after construction involves A. Digging a trench along the drip line in a complete circle. B. Cutting narrow trenches radiating outward from the trunk like spokes, filled with compost or amended soil. C. Installing radial drainage pipes from the trunk to the property edge. D. Making vertical cuts in the soil surface with a knife spade in a radial pattern. The correct answer is cutting narrow trenches radiating outward from the trunk like spokes, filled with compost or amended soil. Radial trenches cut like spokes from the trunk outward disrupt compaction in a pattern that avoids severing too many lateral roots in any one location, while the compost backfill improves soil structure and feeds the recovering root system. Minimum approach distances (MAD) from energized power lines are established to protect workers from A. Physical contact with wires only. B. Both direct contact and arc flash hazards. C. UV radiation emitted by high-voltage conductors. D. The electromagnetic field generated by high-voltage transmission lines. The correct answer is both direct contact and arc flash hazards. High-voltage lines can arc across an air gap without direct contact. MADs account for both the risk of physical contact and the distance at which an arc flash could still cause a fatal burn or electrocution. Which of the following best describes the leaf type of a honey locust Gladitsia tricanthos? A. Once or twice pinnately compound, alternate. B. Pinnately compound, opposite. C. Simple, alternate, lobed. D. Simple, opposite, tooth. The correct answer is once or twice pinnately compound, alternate. Honey locust has alternate leaves that can be once pinnately compound one rank of leaflets on a rachis or twice pinnately compound leaflets themselves divided into smaller leaflets. Sometimes both types appear on the same tree, an unusual and diagnostic feature. The term construction exclusion zone refers to A. An area where only licensed contractors are permitted to work due to safety hazards. B. The TPZ or RPZ within which construction vehicles, equipment, and activities are restricted to protect tree roots and soil. C. A setback required by zoning code between buildings and property lines. D. The area within which tree removal requires a permit under local ordinance. The correct answer is the TPZ or RPZ within which construction vehicles, equipment, and activities are restricted to protect tree roots and soil. A construction exclusion zone is the operationally enforced area, typically the TPZ or RPZ, where all construction activities are prohibited or require arborist approval to prevent compaction, root damage, and grade disturbance around preserved trees. During early spring before leaf out, trees mobilize stored energy reserves in what form? A. Lipids converted to ATP directly. B. Starch converted to soluble sugars. C. Proteins broken down into amino acids for root growth. D. Cellulose broken down by cellulase enzymes. The correct answer is starch converted to soluble sugars. In late winter and early spring, amylase enzymes in parenchyma cells convert starch to sucrose and other soluble sugars that are loaded into the phloem and transported to buds, cambium, and roots to fuel the energy-intensive bud break and early growth flush. The Kentucky coffee tree Gymnocladus dioicus has the largest compound leaf of any native North American tree. How is the leaf arranged? A. By pinnately compound, alternate. B. Pinnately compound, opposite. C. Simple, alternate. D. Palmately compound, opposite. The correct answer is bipinnately compound, alternate. Kentucky coffee trees' enormous leaves up to 3 feet long are bipinnately compound. The main rachis bears secondary rachis, each bearing oval leaflets. This twice-divided arrangement is shared with honey locust and mimosa, but the leaflet shape and tree characteristics differ. What is the primary objective of crown cleaning? A. Reducing the overall size of the crown. B. Removing dead, dying, diseased, and crossing branches from the crown. C. Raising the lower canopy to provide clearance. D. Thinning the crown to reduce wind resistance. The correct answer is removing dead, dying, diseased, and crossing branches from the crown. Crown cleaning is a targeted health and safety measure that selectively removes only problematic wooded, dying, diseased, and rubbing material without altering the overall crown size or structure. Which of the following fertilizer labels correctly identifies the NPK ratio? A. 12-4-8 means 12N, 4P2O5, 8K20. B. 12-4-8 means 12 LBN, 4 LBP, 8 LBK per bag. C. 12-4-8 means pH12, 4 organic matter, 8 clay. D. 12-4-8 means 12 slow release, 4 fast release, 8 trace elements. The correct answer is 12-4-8 means 12N, 4P2O5, 8K20. By regulatory convention, fertilizer labels express nitrogen as elemental N, phosphorus as PO, and potassium as KO by weight of the product. This is important to understand when calculating actual elemental rates applied. The branch collar is the zone of tissue at the base of a branch that A. Contains the branch bark ridge and should be preserved during pruning cuts. B. Is where the apical meristem of the branch is located. C. Consists entirely of phloem fiber cells for support. D. Forms only on dead or declining branches. The correct answer is, contains the branch bark ridge and should be preserved during pruning cuts. The branch collar contains overlapping trunk and branch wood and is the tree's primary wound closure zone. Pruning cuts should be made just outside the collar, not flush, to preserve the collar's meristematic cells and maximize compartmentalization and occlusion speed. Which of the following is a key identifying characteristic of the Magnolia grandiflora? A. Large, simple, entire leaves that are dark green above and rusty below. B. Pinnately compound leaves with toothed leaflets. C. Deeply lobed alternate leaves with a milky sap. D. Opposite simple leaves with smooth margins. The correct answer is large, simple, entire leaves that are dark green above and rusty below. Southern Magnolia grandiflora is evergreen with large, leathery, entire leaves that are glossy dark green on top and covered in rusty brown indumentum hairs beneath, a combination visible from a distance that makes it immediately identifiable. Which phenomenon allows water to move from moist, deep soil through the root system and into dry surface soil layers at night? A. Root pressure. B. Hydraulic redistribution. C. Capillary action. D. Osmosis. The correct answer is hydraulic redistribution. Hydraulic redistribution, formerly called hydraulic lift, occurs when deep roots tap moisture and passively move it through the root system toward drier soil zones, benefiting shallow roots and associated soil organisms, an important mechanism in drought-prone environments. Which characteristic most clearly distinguishes a hackberry Celtis occidentalis trunk from other species? A. Corky, warty ridges on the bark. B. Smooth, gray, mussel-like bark. C. White, exfoliating bark. D. Shaggy, gray, strip-like bark. The correct answer is corky, warty ridges on the bark. Hackberry has distinctive corky, irregular wart-like ridges and projections on the gray bark, making it one of the most recognizable trees by bark alone. This feature, combined with its asymmetrical base, toothed leaves, makes hackberry straightforward to identify. The CTLA Guide for Plant Appraisal is published by which organization? A. ISA International Society of Arboriculture. B. Council of Landscape Appraisers. C. The Council of Tree and Landscape Appraisers CTLA. D. The American Society of Landscape Architects ASLAT. The correct answer is the Council of Tree and Landscape Appraisers CTLA. The CTLA Council of Tree and Landscape Appraisers publishes the Guide for Plant Appraisal, which is the authoritative professional reference for tree and landscape valuation methodology used by arborists and appraisers across North America. Why should excessive thinning of the crown be avoided? A. It stimulates an excessive bark tissue that obscures the branch bark ridge. B. It reduces photosynthetic area too greatly, reduces food storage, and increases mechanical stress on remaining branches. C. It permanently prevents the tree from producing epicormic growth. D. It causes the tree to allocate more resources to root growth, destabilizing the tree. The correct answer is, it reduces photosynthetic area too greatly, reduces food storage, and increases mechanical stress on remaining branches. Removing too many branches reduces the crown's ability to produce and store carbohydrates while also exposing the remaining branches to higher wind loads and greater bending stress, increasing both physiological and mechanical risk. Which plant hormone is primarily responsible for apical dominance in trees? A. Gibberellin. B. Cytokinin. C. Auxin-IAA. D. Ethylene. The correct answer is Auxin-IAA. Auxin-indole-3 acetic acid produced in the shoot apex moves basiphtally and inhibits lateral bud outgrowth. When the apical bud is removed by pruning or damage, auxin levels fall and lateral buds are released, the basis for the pruning technique used to control tree form. Which of the following statements about urban tree canopy goals is most accurate? A. All cities should aim for exactly 40 canopy cover. B. Canopy goals should be based on local climate, existing conditions, and community priorities, with most cities targeting increased cover. C. Canopy goals are set exclusively by state forestry agencies. D. A canopy cover of 10 is considered adequate for most urban areas. The correct answer is, canopy goals should be based on local climate, existing conditions, and community priorities, with most cities targeting increased cover. There is no universal canopy target. Appropriate goals depend on climate, land use patterns, baseline cover, community values, and feasibility. ISA and the USDA Forest Service encourage locally defined, aspirational goals rather than a single national standard. Which type of mycorrhizal association forms a fungal mantle around the root and a harding net between cortical cells, common in oaks and pines? A. Arbuscular mycorrhizae. B. Ectomycorrhizae. C. Ericoid mycorrhizae. D. Orchid mycorrhizae. The correct answer is Ectomycorrhizae. Ectomycorrhizae envelop short feeder roots in a visible fungal mantle and penetrate between, but not inside cortical cells, forming the harding net. This intimate interface facilitates nutrient exchange and is found predominantly in temperate forest trees such as oaks, beeches, and pines. An arborist observes yellowing of older leaves with the veins remaining green. This interveinal chloroses on older leaves most likely indicates a deficiency of A. Magnesium Mg. B. Iron Fe. C. Manganese Mn. D. Nitrogen N. The correct answer is magnesium Mg. Magnesium is mobile in plants and is remobilized from older leaves to support new growth. Its deficiency shows first as interveinal chloroses on older lower leaves while veins remain green, a classic pattern that distinguishes Mg from Fe or Mn deficiency. What is the recommended width for a planting hole relative to the root ball of a new tree? A. Equal to the root ball diameter. B. 1.5 times the root ball diameter. C. 2 to 3 times the root ball diameter. D. 4 to 5 times the root ball diameter. The correct answer is 2 to 3 times the root ball diameter. A hole 23 times the root ball diameter creates a wide zone of loosened soil, making it easier for roots to expand into surrounding native soil and reducing compaction stress during establishment. Which of the following is not a function of the phloem? A. Transporting sugars from source to sink. B. Transporting amino acids and hormones. C. Providing mechanical support as phloem fiber cells. D. Conducting water from roots to leaves. The correct answer is conducting water from roots to leaves. Water conduction from roots to leaves is exclusively a xylem function driven by transpiration pull. Phloem moves organic solute sugars, amino acids, hormones bidirectionally between source and sink tissues via pressure flow. A tree's value in an urban setting is most accurately described as A. Purely economic, based on the lumber value of the wood it contains. B. Multidimensional, including ecological, social, economic, and aesthetic values. C. Primarily aesthetic, based on the property owner's subjective preferences. D. Fixed at the replacement cost of the largest nursery specimen available at time of planting. The correct answer is multidimensional, including ecological, social, economic, and aesthetic values. Urban trees deliver a broad suite of benefits: ecosystem services, ecological, community cohesion, and well-being, social, property value enhancement, and energy savings, economic, and visual landscape quality, aesthetic, all of which contribute to their full value. Gypsy moth, now called spongy moth, primarily defoliates which type of trees? A. Conifers such as spruce and fir. B. Oaks and other hardwood species with preference for oaks. C. Fruit trees in commercial orchards. D. Tropical and subtropical species. The correct answer is oaks and other hardwood species with preference for oaks. Spongy moth Lymantria dispar larvae prefer oaks above all other hosts, but will also defoliate maples, birches, and other hardwoods during outbreak years. Repeated defoliation weakens trees and makes them susceptible to secondary pathogens and borers. What is directional pruning? A. Pruning to establish a specific growth direction by making cuts to laterals oriented away from conflicts. B. Pruning only the side of the crown facing a utility line. C. Using a pole pruner to reach branches that cannot be accessed from the ground. D. Removing branches in one direction at a time to maintain balance. The correct answer is pruning to establish a specific growth direction by making cuts to laterals oriented away from conflicts. Directional pruning uses reduction cuts to laterals growing away from structures or utilities, redirecting the crown's future growth trajectory and reducing the frequency of maintenance pruning cycles. The planting strip or tree lawn in street tree infrastructure refers to A. A dedicated lane for tree care vehicles during maintenance operations. B. The unpaved area between the curb and the sidewalk where street trees are typically planted. C. A linear planting zone along a building's foundation. D. A raised planter installed on top of an existing sidewalk. The correct answer is the unpaved area between the curb and the sidewalk where street trees are typically planted. The planting strip, also called tree lawn or devil's strip, is the narrow turf or planted zone between the curb and sidewalk. Its width and soil quality significantly influence the survival and growth of street trees. A tree species bearing separate male and female flowers on the same individual tree is described as A. Dioecious, B. Monoecious, C. Hermaphroditic, D. Polygamous. The correct answer is monoecious. Monoecious trees, for example oaks, pines, corn, bear both male and female unisexual flowers on the same individual, allowing self- or cross-pollination. Dioecious trees segregate the sexes onto separate trees. According to ANSI standards, which is not a standard to be set in the post-construction phase, A. Pruning shall not be performed to compensate for root loss. B. Pruning should be performed to reduce wind sale when considered necessary. C. Continuing care shall be specified according to changes in tree health and condition. D. A tree management report or plan shall be developed for trees to be conserved on the site. The correct answer is A tree management report or plan shall be developed for trees to be conserved on the site. ANSI A300 Part 5 specifies that a tree management plan should be developed during the pre-construction or construction phase, not as a post-construction standard. It is a planning document, not a post-construction requirement. Post-construction standards focus on ongoing care and monitoring of retained trees. When a tree's roots must be cut, which practice minimizes harm to the tree? A. Using a backhoe to make rapid, rough cuts that minimize the time roots are exposed. B. Making clean cuts with a sharp saw or root pruner at the point of excavation to minimize tearing, then backfilling quickly. C. Leaving severed roots exposed to dry conditions for 24 hours before backfilling to prevent rot. D. Applying wound sealant to all cut root ends before backfilling to prevent disease entry. The correct answer is making clean cuts with a sharp saw or root pruner at the point of excavation to minimize tearing, then backfilling quickly. Clean, smooth root cuts minimize the area of injured tissue and promote faster wound closure. Quick backfilling prevents desiccation of the cut ends. Both practices reduce the infection court that torn, dried root wounds would otherwise present. Soil testing before fertilization is recommended primarily to A. Determine existing nutrient levels and pH to avoid over or under application. B. Confirm the presence of mycorrhizal fungi before planting. C. Identify the specific species of soil organisms present. D. Measure soil temperature at the root zone depth. The correct answer is determine existing nutrient levels and pH to avoid over or under application. Without a soil test, fertilizer prescriptions are guesses. Overapplying can cause toxicity, salt burn, or environmental pollution, while underapplying fails to correct deficiency. Soil testing is the only way to make evidence-based decisions. An arborist observes a tree with a pronounced lean that developed suddenly after a period of heavy rainfall. The most likely cause is A. Increased phototropic response to seasonal light changes. B. Root failure or soil saturation reducing root anchorage. C. Normal gravitropic adjustment in young trees. D. Crown weight redistribution from recent pruning. The correct answer is root failure or soil saturation reducing root anchorage. Sudden lean following heavy rainfall is a classic sign of root failure or soil softening. Saturated soils lose shear strength, reducing their ability to resist root plate rotation, and may indicate the root system has been compromised. How many did you get right? Let us know in the comments, and tell us what topics you want us to cover next. Want to practice more? Download the app and get hundreds of practice questions with detailed explanations.